Hello all you freedom-loving people. Welcome to another episode of Front Page International. I'm your host, Scott Cameron Goulet. The Australian government has finally punished Novak Djokovic for his attitude toward vaccines, but the decision has also had a negative impact on the government's image. In a very rare move, British MI5 directly named a longtime MP donor as a spy for the CCP during the previous government. This high-profile celebrity even received an award from 10 Downing Street. MI5 stated that it will be releasing information about more CCP agents in the UK. While there is no consensus about the EU about diplomatically boycotting the Winter Olympics, several countries have decided not to send government officials to the Games. It looks like the Olympics are going to be a very chilly affair. Okay, let's get into it. The world's top-ranked tennis star's road to the Australian Open has been a difficult one. Things have changed since we last reported on him finally entering Australia. On January 14th, Australia again cancelled his visa. On Sunday, January 16th, the world's top-ranked tennis star left Australia heading for Dubai. But it doesn't end there. The Australian government still has a lot of work to do to mitigate the damage done. It started when Australia's Immigration Minister Alex Hawke, using his discretionary powers, cancelled Djokovic's visa on Friday on the grounds that he was a threat to public health and order. Hawke claimed that because Australia is at the height of the pandemic, his presence would encourage anti-vaccination sentiment. Djokovic was detained on the same day. Australia has one of the lowest death rates, one of the strongest economic recoveries, and one of the highest vaccination rates in the world. Hawke said in a statement, "Australians have made great sacrifices to get to this point, and the Scott Morrison government is firmly committed to protecting this position as the Australian people expect." Djokovic appealed to the Federal Court of Australia, Chief Justice James Allsop, and the court's three-judge panel unanimously ruled to uphold the government's decision to cancel Djokovic's visa. Djokovic said in a statement that he was very disappointed with the ruling, but that he respected the court's decision. He cooperated with the Australian authorities in leaving the country. He also wished the tournament all the best. Serbian President Aleksandar Vučić said, "We believe that it was more political than a decision made by the Australian judiciary." Djokovic's family insisted that he had a valid Australian visa before he boarded the flight to go to Australia. During an interview on the Australian morning show Sunrise, Federal Treasurer Josh Frydenberg confirmed that the tennis star had received a valid entry visa early in January, but Frydenberg said that it was a computer-generated visa. Australia Prime Minister Scott Morrison declared earlier, "Decisions are being made by medical officials and other officials, not by politicians." Breitbart commented, "The country's immigration minister used his political power to deport Djokovic this week after a federal court ruled he was legally allowed to remain in the country." The government offered no medical argument to expel the tennis player. The Australian government might as well just say, non-fully vaccinated visitors are not allowed to enter the country. Attorney Justin Quill appeared on the same program saying, "We made him the poster boy for anti-vaccination sentiment, and now we've made him a martyr." Australian legal experts warn that ejecting Djokovic sets a dangerous precedent that could further erode free speech around issues such as COVID-19. Greg Barnes, spokesman for the Australian Lawyers Alliance, said in a statement on January 16th, "Using the criteria of a possible risk to public order as a reason to refuse a person entry into the country is troubling in a society supposedly committed to freedom of speech and freedom of thought." Britain's security service MI5 has accused Christine Lee of being a Chinese communist agent. She is a British lawyer who has been a longtime patron of Labour MP Barry Gardiner. She recently infiltrated British Parliament and interfered in British politics. Lee is a high-profile and well-known figure in the UK. Her law firm, Christine Lee and Company Solicitors, has offices in London, Birmingham, and Beijing. She is also the chief legal counsel for the Chinese Communist Embassy in London. Lee claimed that her dealings with Parliament were to represent the Chinese in the UK and promote diversity. But MI5 argued that those activities were secretly coordinated with the CCP's United Front Work Department and funded by non-British people in China and Hong Kong. Li was once a guest of British officials when the CCP developed its golden age relationship with the UK more than a decade ago. She was often seen in Parliament when Chinese delegations and dignitaries visited the country, and when Xi Jinping visited the UK in 2015, she was the guest of honor. In 2006, Li launched the so-called British-Chinese project to bring Chinese voices to the forefront of British society. The project received attention from the political community and even won praise from Downing Street. Li was awarded the Points of Light Award in 2019 in recognition for her achievement as a community volunteer. Then Prime Minister Theresa May commended her for promoting interaction, mutual understanding, and cooperation between British and Chinese communities. When the CCP began oppressing the democratic and freedom rights of Hong Kongers in 2020, the UK and other Western countries condemned the CCP. The Times reported that Li lashed out at the UK and other Western countries when she attended a banquet at the Chinese embassy that year. The Times also said that Li had been acknowledged by Xi Jinping and by Chinese Premier Li Keqiang, among others, for her contributions to the CCP. In a photo in the newspaper, Li is shown standing to the right of Xi Jinping in the back row, posing with some top people. MI5 said she had been engaged in political interference activities on behalf of the Chinese Communist Party, engaging with members here at Parliament and associated political entities. The BBC said that it is a very rare move for MI5 to issue a warning about a particular individual. It also suggests that the long-running investigation has brought their concerns to the point where they believe they must now act. In recent years, British authorities have become significantly more wary of CCP influence in various areas in the UK. In July of 2020, the British government rejected telecommunications equipment from Chinese tech giant Huawei in the construction of the country's 5G network. In early October of 2020, a British parliamentary inquiry said there was clear evidence of Huawei's collusion with the CCP apparatus. Li's relationship with Labour MP Barry Gardiner is most unusual. She raised hundreds of thousands of pounds to support Gardiner's work. He was Environment Secretary under Tony Blair, and he served as International Trade Secretary in the shadow cabinet of former Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn. Shortly after Gardiner became Shadow Energy Secretary in 2015, Li began making donations through her own law firm. One of those donations was for approximately $248,000, and it was used to pay the salaries of two of Gardiner's aides. One of the aides was Li's son, Daniel Wilkes. It was only after Li's identity was revealed on Thursday that Parliament decertified Wilkes at the request of MI5. Martin Thorley, a researcher at the University of Exeter in the United Kingdom, tweeted more information about Li. He warned that these are just the tip of the iceberg. Thorley has been studying Li for some time. His doctoral dissertation research was on Sino-British relations, and one of the chapters was devoted to the Li phenomenon. Thorley wrote, "The contrast between her presence in the UK and China is eye-opening, however, and raises some questions for a few well-placed British citizens and institutions." Thorley revealed that Gardiner actively spoke up to help the CCP on the construction of the Hinkley Point C nuclear power station in the UK. During Xi Jinping's visit to the UK in 2015, an understanding was reached for the Chinese to participate in the construction of the Hinkley Point C nuclear project, which is the first new power plant in the UK in nearly 20 years. But before the contract was signed, the UK announced that the project had been postponed. Gardiner criticized the government's decision, and his views became the main opposition of the Labour Party. Thorley said Lee also donated money to Liberal Democrat leader Sir Ed Davey, which happened on February 7, 2013, when Conservatives and Liberal Democrats were in joint government. Davey was the energy minister then. Thorley's tweet reads, Davey would play a central role in securing Hinckley, not least by almost single-handedly convincing the Liberal Democrats to back nuclear energy. Thorley also uncovered Lee's ties to multiple United Front groups of the CCP. He claimed Lee also played a crucial role in setting up the all-party parliamentary group, Chinese in Britain. Thorley shared a Chinese report of Lee's meeting with United Front worker and CPP-CC staff, as well as photos of her shaking hands with Xi Jinping himself. The Times has commented that most countries try to influence the policies of others. Lobbying is neither wrong nor reprehensible, but agents representing foreign interests should be strictly regulated, and the UK needs to establish explicit regulatory rules. British Conservative MP and former party leader Sir Ian Duncan Smith said it was a matter of grave concern and called to deport Lee and for the government to give an explanation to the House of Commons. Lee has not been arrested yet, but she is under investigation by the National Security Service. Denmark will not be sending a diplomatic delegation to the Winter Olympics in Beijing. Denmark Foreign Minister Jeppe Kofod announced on Friday, January 14th. Kofod said, "It's no secret that we on the Danish side are very concerned about the human rights situation in China. The Danish athletes can count on the government's full support, and we're going to cheer them on just like we usually do, but we will do it from home and not from the stands in Beijing." Earlier the same day, the Netherlands and Sweden also announced that they would not send diplomatic delegations to the Olympics, but their reasoning was the COVID-19 restrictions. In Asia, while the South Korean president has been affable to Beijing, he has said several times that he will not participate in the diplomatic boycott, but on Friday he also stated that he has not yet decided to attend the Olympics. Germany registered just over 1 million deaths in 2021. More than 100,000 people died in December of last year alone. That is a record. Officials cite an aging population and the pandemic as the main causes. The number of deaths increased by 3% last year compared to 2020. 2020 saw a 5% increase in deaths compared to 2019, the year before the outbreak. That means that 2021 had an 8% increase in deaths compared to 2019. According to statisticians, it is not yet possible to quantify the exact impact of the pandemic. This is because, in addition to possible unrecognized COVID deaths, there could also be the consequences of postponed surgeries due to the pandemic or deaths caused by other infectious diseases such as the influenza. This is the first time since 1949 that Germany has had more than 1 million deaths in a single year. Only in 1946 did Germany exceed 1 million deaths. The main cause of death at that time was poor living conditions. Over the weekend, we published a new video on our membership site. I want to show you the trailer. An Associated Press poll found that Americans are now more worried about inflation than the pandemic. Only 37% of Americans ranked viruses as one of the top 5 priorities for the government in 2022. 68% of respondents cited the economy as the top concern for the year. Inflation in the U.S. is now at its highest rate in 4 decades. The world watched in horror last year as high inflation rocked Turkey. Will the U.S. follow in Turkey's footsteps? You can watch the full episode on our membership site at frontpageshow.com. Okay, this is our show for today. Thank you for tuning in. If you like what you heard, please don't forget to like and subscribe this video and share it with your friends and family, because everybody deserves to know the truth. Again, thank you for watching Front Page, and we will see you next time.